It's been 7 years since the Galaxy S8 made its debut. Now, I know what you're thinking. A Galaxy S8 in 2024? You bet, because this phone was something special back in 2017, and with a few custom tweaks, it's still got a lot of life left. Today, we're revisiting this phone to explore what the Galaxy S8 meant for Samsung back then, how it's held up over the years, and, surprise, surprise, the borderline miraculous ways you can actually bring it into the Android 14 and 15 era. So let's dive in and see the good, the bad, and all the ways you can breathe new life into this classic. Before we kick things off, just ignore those black dots on my screen. They might be an eyesore, but they don't impact performance. And really, isn't that what matters most? Now, let's take a moment to appreciate the Galaxy S8, not just as a smartphone, but as a small feat of engineering. When this phone dropped in 2017, it had what was then a revolutionary infinity display, with curves that seemed to defy physics. It was the first time a major player like Samsung had eliminated almost all bezels and set a new standard for what we expect a smartphone to look like. But that was 2017. Here in 2024, we're gonna take a dive into what still works and what doesn't when it comes to this aging device. The Galaxy S8 launched with Android 7.0 Nougat, and Samsung initially did right by its users by pushing updates all the way to Android 9.0 Pie. After that, however, Samsung had to cut it loose. But here's the exciting part. Thanks to the vibrant Android modding community, this phone has received not just one but several new leases on life. Custom ROMs like LineageOS 21 and even ports of Samsung's own One UI 6.1 from the Galaxy S22, both running Android 14, are available. It's pretty wild to see a 7-year-old device running software that feels so fresh. Now, let's talk hardware. When the Galaxy S8 launched, it packed either the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 or the Samsung Exynos 8895 depending on your region. These chips were powerful back in the day, but they don't quite stack up to today's processors. One significant reason is the evolution of transistor technology. Modern chips are built on smaller process nodes, leading to better power efficiency and performance. In comparison, the S8's chipset is less efficient and tends to generate more heat. This phone is slim, with that seamless curved glass front and back, and a metal frame that feels premium. Samsung really nailed the ergonomics, making it sit perfectly in your hand with curves that almost wrap around your palm. Compared to today's chunky flagships, it's refreshingly compact, great for one-handed use. Samsung's Super AMOLED panels were already ahead of the curve in 2017, and the S8's display was no exception. Outdoor visibility is decent, though not quite up to modern standards. With its peak brightness of 1000 nits, it can struggle in direct sunlight. You might find yourself squinting to see details, but for everyday tasks, it does the job well. The Galaxy S8's 12-megapixel dual-pixel sensor with an f1.7 aperture was a standout feature. It performs admirably in low light and includes OIS to reduce blur. For a 2017 camera, it still captures vibrant detailed shots, and the front camera is solid for social media selfies. Videos max out at 4K at 30 frames per second, and while stabilization is decent, it can feel a bit shaky by today's standards. Highlights and shadows lack some detail, but the colors are still punchy. In good lighting, it captures vibrant colors with decent contrast, and you'll still get that signature Samsung saturation. The dynamic range is also good, but highlights can get blown out in brighter scenes and shadows can lack detail. But the colors are still punchy, and for basic video capturing, it gets the job done. The camera app does have numerous features which makes it a fun experience to use. The S8 also introduced iris scanning and facial recognition, which felt futuristic at the time. The iris scanner worked well in low light but wasn't the fastest, and facial recognition could be fooled by photos. The rear fingerprint sensor was awkwardly placed next to the camera, leading to accidental smudging. Then there's the 4GB RAM. This was pretty generous in 2017, but in 2024, we've got apps that demand far more. Despite these limitations though, it's really the software that makes the Galaxy S8 usable today. Custom ROMs can bypass a lot of the older bloat and streamline performance, even on outdated hardware. In 2024, you're not going to find the Galaxy S8 blazing through tasks the way new flagships do. Even with a fresh coat of paint in the form of One UI 6.1 or LineageOS 21, there are things you have to be realistic about. But here's the surprise. Once you've removed some of that Samsung bloat, the S8 actually holds its own for basic stuff. Email, texting, media streaming, no problem. And that OLED screen, it's still gorgeous. The biggest drawbacks? Battery life. Even when it was new, the 3000 mAh battery wasn't exactly pushing any boundaries, and by now most of those batteries are going to be degraded. You can replace it, sure, but it's tricky. And that water resistance you used to have, yeah, that's probably gone after cracking it open. Let's dive into that display a bit. The S8 has a 1440p Super AMOLED display with a peak brightness that still manages to hold up today. You've got deep blacks and rich colors, which is exactly what makes AMOLED so appealing. However, over time, AMOLED panels tend to experience burn-in, and that's something you might notice if you've had one of these phones sitting in a drawer for a few years. But for those of you brave enough to go the custom ROM route, you'll find that this display can handle today's Android aesthetic beautifully. One more thing, if you've loaded a ROM that brings features from a newer One UI version, you'll notice things like edge lighting and other visual effects are supported thanks to this display. It's not just about nostalgia here, it's about functionality. In 2024, running Android 14 on a device like the Galaxy S8 feels almost like being part of a secret club. There's a certain satisfaction in that. While the S8 won't outpace today's flagship devices, having One UI 6 features, especially enhanced customization, features like Circle to Search, the ported software capabilities, and even Samsung DeX with a clever workaround, shows that this phone still has life in it. The ROM community has truly gotten creative, offering custom kernels that help extract every ounce of efficiency from the S8's aging processor. It's thrilling to witness these old-school devices being revitalized and accomplishing tasks Samsung never intended. So, should you rush out to buy a Galaxy S8 now or in 2025? Perhaps not as your primary device. However, if you're interested in breathing new life into a piece of smartphone history, it's a fantastic side project. This journey showcases the incredible achievements of the modding community and serves as a reminder of how far we've come. Plus, there's something deeply satisfying about using a 7-year-old phone to run the latest software. The Galaxy S8 may be a relic, but it's one that's been polished and preserved by technology enthusiasts around the world. When I refer to the Galaxy S8 as a relic, I don't mean to suggest it's outdated in a negative sense. Quite the opposite. This device is still fully capable of handling everyday tasks and delivering a solid smartphone experience, even here in 2024. There is a certain charm to these older phones, a sense of nostalgia and reliability. And for all the Android tinkerers out there, this is your playground. So if you've got a Galaxy S8 lying around, or you can snag one at a bargain, why not give it a shot? Flash LineageOS or try out a One UI 6 port, and you might just find yourself looking at this classic device with a whole new perspective. Thanks for watching, mates. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.